Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your service. Now, what you should have seen and heard there was me in the Pretty Woman mask dancing, doing the chainsaw cha-cha to Roy Orbison's classic, internationally loved Pretty Woman. You didn't hear Pretty Woman playing because in my previous 2 attempts to do this video, it's been slammed by Turkish music copyright. Turkish music copyright. Because apparently they own everything to do with Roy Orbison, or at least this particular song. Or is it the combination of Pretty Woman and a very grim mask and a chainsaw? Well, whatever. Whatever. It was just a bit of fun, you know. No harm was meant to be intended. But anyway, you took offence, so fuck you. But, anyway, the whole point of this video is actually this thing here. Yes. So let's get back to the job in hand and let's finally see if we can get this out there. In the classic 1974 grunge fest from Tobe Hooper, Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Not based on a true story like it says at the start, although it does add to the whole flavour. It is inspired quite directly by the horrific activities of Ed Gein, the Wisconsin cannibal, who, although I think he was convicted of 2, maybe 3 actual murders, his house was festooned with body parts from far more victims than just that. He built furniture out of bones, he had necklaces and stuff out of teeth and fingernails, lampshades made out of human skin and all sorts of things. And he did dress up as a woman, and he did dress up in the skins of his victims. This case inspired Psycho, and inspired Silence of the Lambs, and it inspired Texas Chain Saw Massacre, as we all know. Now, in the film Texas Chain Saw Massacre, the original one, there are 3 different masks that Leatherface wears. He wears my bloody favourite, this one, the killing mask. Yes. That's also on the poster. The original posters always had him in that garb, and he had poor Pam, who is hung up on the meat hook, and he's about to chainsaw into her boyfriend Kirk. Kirk, of course, is the one that gets boosh, absolutely hammered. Hang on a sec. With one of these, in Leatherface's big moments of glory when he first appears, looming huge and brutish in the doorway, and Kirk just looks up and he goes, wha-bang! Down goes Kirk, does the death spasm jitters on the floor, dragged in, steel shutter goes past, and you're like, Jesus, what the hell was that? And your heart's just stopped. You're like, whoa, my God. For an entrance, you know, for a macabre killer, that takes some beating. Anyway, later on in the film, because Leatherface, played by Gunnar Hansen, and Gunnar Hansen always said that the masks are what make the character. He said the idea is that, so the way he viewed playing the character, if the masks are off, there's nothing behind there. There's nothing. He has no character without the mask. So each mask he puts on obviously illustrates the mode he's in. The killing mask, obviously, that's his workaday mask. So anyone gets in the house or any victims are brought, he's going to chainsaw them, club them, freeze them, meat hook them, whatever. That's the killing mask. That's what he wears for that particular deed. But during the day, he also is the domestic help. He plays the maid, the mother, the matron to the house. He'll do the cooking and the cleaning, the washing, you know, he does everything. He is the domicile. And he wears what's called the old lady mask for that. It's got a big silly bun on its head. Now, because that family, they're all brothers in that family. Everyone seems to have the misconception that Jim Seidow, who plays Cook, who's in the first 2 movies, that he's the father. He's not. He's the elder brother. And the idea is that, you know, the grandpa is up in the attic and they bring him down. Go on, grandpa, come on, he's the best in the business. And he's trying to hit poor Marilyn Burns on the head. You know, and it just keeps dropping the hammer because he's 196 or whatever, and just a desiccated ruin. But you're meant to see grandma's corpses in the chair as well, because the women have been involved in this family You know, they don't just regenerate themselves, you know. But anyway, so they're brothers. But Leatherface plays the part of the home help, the maid, the cook, the whatever. So, you know, then you get the final mask, because they've got Marilyn Burns, Sally Hardesty, who's witnessed all their friends' demise, her brother Franklin, who's in the wheelchair getting sliced up during the night time when they're trying to get through the woods, by Leatherface in the killing mask. So suddenly appears and just chainsaws, although you don't really see anything. But then, because she's now the guest of honour in their house for the big dinner sequence, and she's tortured, humiliated, abused. She escapes a couple of times, and then for the actual finale, Leatherface, because they've got a guest in the house, he gets dressed up and he puts makeup on this human skin face. He's done the hair, you know, he's got dressed up for the occasion, and it's this, and this is known as the Pretty Woman mask. And there you go, made by Trick or Treat Studios, sculpted fantastically by Conor Deless. Conor Deless has done pretty much all the Trick or Treat Studio Texas Chain Saw Massacre masks that I've seen, and I've got a few. And obviously, they can't go back to the original masks to you know, take molds from them, because they're all dishevelled and knackered, and probably don't even exist anymore in any workable, you know, condition. Robert A. Burns created the masks for the original movie. Not Robbie Burns, although, you know, that would go along with the kilt, but Robert A. Burns, and he got all the bones and the teeth, and made all the necklaces and the jewellery and the furnishings, all the bone stuff in the Sawyer household. He created all that, but he created these masks too. And he always said, like, you know, the mask should be thin, the skin should be like parchment, because human skin is very thin when you peel it off and you start working with it, so it has to deflect all that. But as you can see here, this mask is absolutely extraordinary. It's not, as I say, it's not the mask I actually ordered. I ordered the killing mask, believe it or not, and this is what turned up. But in a weird quirk of fate, I made on the deal, because this from the same company was £20 dearer. 20 English pounds was £20 dearer than the killing mask. But I wanted the killing mask. But this came, the tag attached to it, the Trick or Treats tag, which I will show you if I can find it, actually says killing mask on it. So you can't blame them. They just literally went up to, oh, killing mask, whoosh, took it off, bagged it up, sent it out. And weirdly though, it's like they've realised their mistake. They think, oh, this guy wants to come back on because he didn't get the mask he wanted. But he's been quiet so far, so he must be happy with this one. But he still wants the killing mask, and I do. But they've bumped the price up on the killing mask now. I'm on to you. I just want to show you. See if I can find it. Ooh, where is it now? Yeah. So that's my filing system there. Here's the Trick or Treats label. Alright, Trick or Treats and how to look after your mask. Don't go near fire. Don't use a lump hammer on it, and watch out for chainsaws. Yeah. But as you can see on the back there, it does say killing mask, and that was attached to the Pretty Woman mask. But anyway, I've made on the deal. Now, first things you're going to notice, sort of abstract, random cut eyes. There's a normalish eye, and there's this one here, this triangular one here, with the lids are peeled back. It's almost like a pumpkin eye. You know, pumpkins, you always have a triangular eye, don't you, in the standard classic image. And that's what he's done here, old Leatherface, in his sewing bee class. And it looks brilliant. Now, they're not loose flaps, they're sculpted that way. So, in reality, they'd be pinned back. And he uses very crude stitching, as you can see around here. You know? On one side, we have an ear. This one here. On the other side, he hasn't managed to get the ear on. So, old Leatherface in his clumsiness, you've got a bit of an ear sort of going on here, bit of lobage, but the rest of it, sadly, AWOL. Now, of course, if this is his party mask, this is when we're having fun, I've got to look my best, put my glad rags on, and as women always say, just go and put my face on. He literally does. He puts his face on, folks. We've got one eyebrow. We've got his Joker-style lippy on here, which is just randomly splashed on. You know, like old women. Now I'm thinking of you, May Milburn. Yes. If you're watching this, you know what I mean. You're not even that old. But you tend to, you seem to exaggerate your lips a fair bit. You've only got little needle-like lips anyway, but she exaggerates and goes whoa, all over her face with it. And of course, Leatherface has done the same thing. Massively extravagant lippage. Now, if that one had gone up there, we'd have a bit of a Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix thing going on, with a bit of a Joker-eyed mouth. But no. You've also got a bit of blusher. Now, I know some people who've reviewed this mask have said, like, well, mine hasn't got the blusher on it. I can't comment. All I can say is that mine does. You might not be picking it up too well in this light, but the blusher is definitely there. You can see it, can't you? And it adds a nice bit of, contrast to the face. This otherwise fresh from the grave, but kind of pallid, decomposing green. It does look ghoulish. And I've seen people complain about that sort of colour aspect, this greenish aspect. Well, I've seen the film a million times, and but not that. I haven't watched the film to look at this particular mask. Certainly not since I got this, which ordinarily I would do to check its authenticity, its faithfulness. But I don't think that's out of place. I think it probably does look like that. I would be surprised if it didn't. Nonetheless, it's not going to just, I'm going to make it green because I feel like making it green. And it's only a sort of very subtle sort of effect anyway. We're not talking Martian green here. And it looks real. You've got your contours and your details. And, all this sort of texture works a treat. It is a human face which has been butchered, sliced off, and then stitched together crudely. It's ghastly, isn't it? I will mention this as well. When I first got this and put it on, my daughter said, it's even got a beard hole, because my chin was poking through this, and I didn't make myself go through with the joke about a bearded hole. But I'm not sure what that's meant to be. Now, we know that in Texas Chain Saw Massacre Part 2, which Tom Savini, the great gore meister, Tom Savini took over the special effects, did all the gore effects for it, and did all the masks and the makeup. And although some people say it's sacrilege and blasphemy, but I actually prefer the look of this mask for Leatherface from Texas Chain Saw 2. I just do. I love that these are all, the first three are all very crudely, done, and they're believable that, this guy out in the backwoods, a redneck, who doesn't have any skills at all apart from using a chainsaw and clubbing people to death, and then stitching, his big pudgy fingers stitching flesh to flesh, But this, underneath here, you have, he's got spares, he's got extra ears, another mouth, 2 more ears there, 2 more noses, another eye. So if anything comes adrift on his normal face, he's got a bit of a spare one going on there. And I do love that. I do love that that's there. And weirdly enough, in the film, I never noticed all this kind of extra stuff around. So it's brilliant, great design. So that may be an extra mouth. I really genuinely do not know. The hair is magnificent. One of its glories of this mask, and I've got hundreds of masks, and the vast majority, some have got great hair, some have got frizzy synthetic shite, and this does not. The hair feels real. It feels real. That's amazing, that. It's shot through with grey, which is a lovely bit of extra illustration and contrast, as you can see there. Again, I've not noticed that in the film, but it must be there. It's punched in. Can you see in here? The hair has been punched in. Can you see that? It's stitched in. It's not just glued on. So you can shake, rattle and roll this thing, look at that. And it's not going to go anywhere. And the hair, the style of it, is bloody good as well. It should be a curly ragtaggle mess. It should look like he's been dragged through a hedge backwards. He's probably made some attempt to just make it flouncy and fly away in his weird, sort of, I'm a lady, today I'm a woman. But it's got that kind of bounce and kind of, texture to it, that kind of life. It's amazing. It really is great hair. I was genuinely surprised by the quality of that. The stitching all the way around is marvellous. the variations, the discoloration around some of it. You've always got a bit of a bash mark, because that's the kind of like a trademark that he has. Literally, most of his victims have took a blow to the head, you know. If he's going to use that, let's just chainsaw them up completely, you know, in which case, wow, that's a mess. Won't be using that one. Off cuts maybe, but there's usually a bit of a mark here, you know, boosh, where he's done it. And so that's reflected there. And I think it's a wonderful mask. You have, which I can't quite come to terms with, is the strapping on this. You've got 4 holes in the front, 4 holes in the back. No, sorry, 2 holes in the back. You know what I mean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. There's 8 holes, front and back, and you feed this sort of leather strap like a thong. Now, I think the idea behind that is, as I said with this one for my video for this Texas Chain Saw Massacre 2 mask, it's got a similar effect with like these little leather sort of strapping to cinch it tighter. I would say that in reality in the film they would actually be ligaments or sinew, because they reuse everything of the body. You know, the meat they don't eat, he makes masks out of. And obviously fixtures and fittings, and of course the bones become, you know, the stuff they're sitting on, literally armchairs, you know. So, but when you put it on, I'm not sure how you're meant to fasten that. And I know they kind of, in all the imagery I've seen of the mask, they hang loose, but I need to watch the film again to see just exactly how they do that, because I don't know. Marks on the inside. I know some people like this sort of thing. We have the obligatory pumpkin boosh there, which I don't think is unique to Trick or Treat Studios. Someone can correct me there, because I've certainly got Ghoulish Productions mask, and there's a pumpkin stamp on the inside of that too. Now I know a lot of these masks, maybe from whatever company they are, they get designed and sculpted, and then the molds go to Mexico, and the Mexicans produce the masks en masse. And I think maybe that's where the stamp goes in, so I don't know. But also we have the number 2001, which I presume has nothing to do with the movie, but because, you know, that's not going to keep you, you know, away from the lack of atmosphere in space. That's not exactly a space helmet. But 2001. Now these masks came out later than that, so I don't really think that that's the year it was produced. So I think this is number 2001. Quite significant, I suppose. But I think it's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful mask. Now, as I said, the mask I wanted was the killing mask. Now that is my favourite out of the original 3 masks, without a doubt. But, you know, because it's turned up, I was like, oh no. But I also thought, well, at some point I would probably have got this one anyway. And now it really means that I've still got to go all out to get the killing mask. Which, you know, as soon as I've got a bit of spondoolies, I will order that. Although no mile, like, I'll probably get this one again. Maybe I should order the Pretty Woman mask and I might get the killing one, you know, by mistake. Who knows? But these are the pitfalls of mask buying, you know. But at least it worked out in my favour, because I'm actually very pleased with this. And I think if you go out on Halloween night, or you're having a Texas Chainsaw tribute cookout party night in some barn, you know, and you bedeck yourself in Leatherface's gear and put this on and run around with a chainsaw, you're going to get the desired effect, without a doubt, you know. Now, as I say, the poster boy for the original posters was the killing mask. That was the look they were going for. That was the image they used. But, as I can show you here, the book I received from Ricky Murray, awesome. A lot of the reissues of the movie, the posters changed, and the finale of the film is what they use. And there he is wearing, you know, the Pretty Woman mask. Of course, this is the sequence. Sally has managed to get away. Again, she's plunged through some sugar glass window. And Edwin Neal, as the hitchhiker with that birthmark, you know, is running after her with his cutthroat razor, and he's slashing her around the back. Oh, and she's just bedecked in gore. And she gets out onto the road just in time for this big semi-truck to come thundering down, and she gets across out the way of it, but hitchhiker gets squished good style. So the driver of the semi tries to rescue Sally, but of course there's a big 8-foot tall 8-man wielding a chainsaw with a pretty woman's face. So they have to get out the cab, and this guy chucks, you know, a big wrench at Leatherface. Oh, hits him. Oh, down he goes and drops his own chainsaw on his own leg. And in it's the only sequence where you see a chainsaw interacting with human flesh, and it happens to be the killer himself. So it just cuts in there, and he manages to grab his leg, and a little bit of blood comes out. And it's probably the goriest moment in the film, and it's only minimal. And the film gets such, you know, reputation for carnage, cannibalism, and torture, and all this kind of stuff, and, you know, disembowelings, and it's just not there. It's all implied, but it's not there. And then Sally manages to get into the back of a pickup truck, and off she goes, screaming and howling her victory. Although you've got to wonder what kind of survival has she really got. Her body may have survived it all, but her brain is fried by what she's witnessed and gone through, quite clearly. Leaving Leatherface, is the sun setting or is the sun rising? We've had a full night in the house, so I think the sun's rising. And he does his famous, you know, chainsaw twirl, like that. Is it rage? Is it frustration? What is it? Is it his kind of victory dance as well? Look at all the chaos I've caused, whoa, and he's there with the chainsaw, which of course is that picture. And imagery from that scene makes it onto a lot of posters now, a lot of home video releases of it as well. So there are many people that rate this particular mask as being their favourite. I still go with the Killing Mask. It has more screen time and it's just more iconic, I think. But they would argue that no, this is from the final sequence, this is the one that you leave the theatres remembering, you know. Maybe. I think it's beautifully grotesque and marvellously absurd. And I've said in previous videos about Texas Chain Saw Massacre and Leatherface in particular, is about the level of gallows the blackest humour going. They are funny films. The originals certainly are. The whole point, Texas Chainsaw 2 is a complete satire anyway. But Texas Chainsaw 1, although you're kind of shocked by the violence in it and the whole horror of the situation, you're not noticing the really funny aspects of it. But they are there. None more so than Leatherface wearing these masks, because as horrible and scary as they are, they're also comical. They are absurd. They're somehow surreal. You know, that this guy's putting another face on top of his own and he's making efforts to make it look pretty. It's like, you know, the most grotesque and nasty of clowns. You know, a little terrible trio, a troupe of clowns stumbling into the circus, you know, on the sawdust, and they're wearing other people's faces. It is ghastly, but it's also highly amusing at the same time. It clearly is a work of genius to have done this on, you know, Toby Hooper's idea, Kim Henkel, all the creators, and of course Robert A. Burns and his design work. Awesome stuff. Now, this is translated superbly well to these latex masks, and Trick or Treat have done, you know, a bang up job with producing these. All the ones I've had, I've been very happy with. And we can see over here there's the skinned face from Texas 2, and I did a big video on that one as well. So yeah, I've got to say, I'm very happy with the mistake that these people made. Now, I'm painfully aware that I could be saying all this now for the third time. And of course, I've always said that, you know, your first video is lightning in a bottle, and that was the better one. You guys can't see it. The second one, I tried to go a little bit further. I thought, well, look, if I can't do this and that, like, I'll try to get away with a bit more. And you can't see that one either. So this one, you know, this one is reined back quite considerably. But the point of it is this mask. That's what it's all about. And it gets a big concerted thumbs up from me. I think it's a fabulous creation, and a lot of effort has gone into this. The colouring, which some people seem not to like, but the shading, the depth, the contours, the detail, everything is there. The hair is incredible. You know, and the icing on the cake, almost literally given the colour of it, is this sort of frosting grey that's shot through. Just adds a bit more variety and contrast to the mask, a bit more distinction. It is wonderful. And I love, what is it now? That one, that eye, that peeled back eye. Try and ignore the strapping here, which is not working. And let's just see. Let's lean in here. You probably can't see in the light, but I love the way the eye comes through on that one, because you can see a fair bit of, you know, his face, the skin around his own real eyes, and you do in the movie. And of course, one of the great sequences with the killing mask, he's already took out Kirk and Pam, and you know, does he kill Jerry at that point? I can't remember. He kills Jerry as well, and so it's been hammer time at the old Sawyer house. And he sits there, he runs to the window, he's looking out, you know, go, oh, what have I done, what have I done? Who are these people that keep coming into our house? And he sits down and he cradles his masked face, and he's clearly in distress, because he's thinking, am I going to get in trouble? I mean, he breaks the door, doesn't he? You bigot, you broke the door again! But he's getting kicked by the cook and all that, like, he's the whipping boy, isn't he? He's just a big lumbering, poor buffoon, and you do, ironically, perversely feel a bit sympathetic towards him. I know that sounds wrong, but you do, and that's the crucial element to making him such an iconic, titanic, you know, character of cinematic horror. Why his longevity is still with us. But you see him cradling his face, well, his Leatherface, and his tongue flicks out, because it's a nervous reaction. He's just, oh, what am I going to do? What's happened here? Oh, am I in trouble? Yes, you should be in trouble, mate. Yeah. By the way, that's not a chainsaw revving up there, that's the washing machine. Yes, in previous incarnations of this review, there's been lovely music playing, you know, to get your foot tapping and get you in the mood. Now, sadly, to try and get this fucking video out, my pretty woman has done some of the domestic chores. So, anyway, folks, finally, let's hope, because there's been no music playing. Unless, does a certain country not like the sound of a washing machine? Oh well, we'll see, won't we? If copyright comes up on that. Anyway, folks, keep it real. Stay happy, stay healthy. Watch out for the backwoods of Texas, and don't go to Turkey either. And keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. Keep home fires burning, and give old Leatherface some love. You know, he's going out on the town, he's got his makeup on, he's done his hair. Come on now, there's going to be murder on the dance floor. So folks, in the meantime and the in-between time, keep smiling, and I'm going to see you all. Please let this video go through, please, please, the powers that be, I've done nothing wrong. I'm going to see you all later. And a certain country can go and get stuff.